What do you think? We should start the show like this? Reporting for duty, the Leaf Dogs. What do you guys think William Nylander should sign for?
The following production is brought to you by the Talkin Buds Leafs Show.
Here we go, Talkin Buds Leafs Show. What did you think of the global series in Sweden? I thought it was really good. I thought it was cool.
Are we talking about the games, or are we talking about
just everything?
Like
the games, the overall vibe. I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a nice break this early in the season to just like a different feel, like just a different watch. Love the early morning start. Here's my main takeaway. I am always down for an early start on Leaf games. Always down.
Yeah. I mean, I thought the building didn't particularly look full.
Avicii Arena?
Yeah. I mean, it took me a second to realize I'm like Avicii Arena. I'm like, R.I.P. Yeah, I thought the couple games I watched, I'm like, building could be a little more full. But and the benches were kind of funky with like how the bench like basically went into like the zone.
Yep.
It was like halfway through the O zone or the D zone, depending what side you were on. But yeah, I like how it did have a different feel. It seemed like the game was like almost faster in a way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The camera had that kind of like hazy European World Junior look to it.
Like when Bertuzzi set up Tavares for that goal against the Red Wings, it looked like it was in like fast forward.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen John Tavares move that quickly in
forever.
Mm-hmm. Like it was, it did have a different feel to it.
I loved the sort of rekindling with Mats. I must have watched that video of Mats coming in. First of all, Sheldon's epic intro and tee up, bring him into the room, and him coming in and reading the lineup card. Saw some commentary online of people being like, "Well, he looks like, look how subdued he is. He looks like he doesn't even want to be there." I'm like, no, that's Mats. Like you think back to those Leaf teams.
What kind of take is that?
It's a brutal take. It's a horrendous take.
Subdued.
Like, what do you want? Like Mats was never a rah guy.
I love how people are to try to like critique like someone's body language.
Just go to our TikTok and read the comments, man. People are fucked. People are
oh my
fucked.
God.
Like it's
He looks
crazy.
subdued.
It's
like,
crazy.
He went in and read the lineup and he left.
And that's
what was he supposed to do?
And that's just Mats. Like if you think back to those Leaf teams, like the early 2000s Leaf teams, and all the guys that came through and were on those teams at one point. Tucker, Domi, Corson, Neuendijk, Roberts, Ronnie Francis, Brian Leach, Eddie Belfour, Curtis Joseph, Ty Domi, like real, and he was the captain. He was all their leader, and Mats was the ultimate lead by example, and all those guys respected him. Alex McGillney, like just like big egos coming into that room, and they all just you never hear anyone say a bad thing about Matt Sundin.
He's just like too cool for school in the best way possible. Like he's just a cool guy. And you're right. No one like no player has any bad thing to say about him. All the stories about him, he's a legend. The guy's the first one to pull out his black card and pay for everything because he was the highest paid player on the team at the time.
So I don't think this can be overstated. I've hammered this since they've come back to anyone I've talked to about it. What William Nylander did in Sweden is something that you and I specifically have talked about a lot on this show. And it's a superstar player taking a game over and willing his team to victory, not allowing them to lose. And that's what William Nylander did in both of those games. For him to go over there and to be the center of attention, the rock star, the focal point. He's on talk shows over there. He was the main of the 4 teams that went over there. He was the main attraction of any player on all 4 teams. And for him to play the way he played and lead the way he led, and just, I cannot he rose to a level and did something that I don't think either Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner have done in their entire career here. And again, someone's going to freak out in the comments at me and say, what about this? We've always talked about what separates the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's and the McKinnons from everyone else is willing your team to a victory and putting the team on your back. And that's what William Nylander did twice in Sweden.
He's the best player in the NHL right now. I don't care what anybody says.
Elias Pettersson says hi.
I'm going to keep harping on that until his play dips off. Like that, what the NHL decided to go over to Sweden, play some games. He was the center of attention. And guess what? The guy absolutely showed out like a complete superstar. And he's the most consistent player in the league right now. He's got a point streak, 17 games. Like he's the most. There's no one more electric with the puck right now. Like in the game, I don't care. Call me biased, whatever. Vancouver's guys who are on top of the points. Like they scored 10. They hung 10 twice on 2 shit teams. So it's like you want to talk about just consistency and a guy who's just electric in the league right now. He's the best player in the league right now, in my opinion. Is number 88.
Does it annoy you that the moment they leave Sweden? And it is, in fairness to the fans, it was a really it was a media-driven narrative today with the piece Pierre LeBrun wrote in The Athletic. But we are now, we are full-blown back in what is he going to sign for territory. Like, how much should they pay him territory? And on the one hand, it's like, yes, it is a conversation that needs to be had. The guy's had an electric start to the season. We're still only 17 games in. But on the other hand, it's like, fuck, can we just enjoy this? Like, do we have to start this up again? And the narrative, like, we always joke, how many times have we said the word contract on this podcast in 6 years of doing this?
A lot.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. Like, are you over this?
See, I find this conversation isn't pissing me off at all right now.
Interesting.
Because the guy is playing like the best player in the league right now. Like what? If he was struggling and not giving his best effort or putting his best foot forward in terms of production, but we were still talking about how he wants a massive number, then I have a fucking problem with it. But when the guy is literally the best player in the NHL, of course people are going to be talking about it. Yeah, I've heard the argument that this might be his peak. He might be peaking right now. You signed the deal. It's
not to cut you off, but you just reminded me. I was really taken aback by the amount of comments we got on our video last week and on our TikTok about he's only playing this well because it's a contract year. I was really a lot of people, there's still a huge chunk of this fan base that is really hesitant to give this guy his due and are chalking it up to it's a contract year. After he signs, he's going to go back to the old William Nylander that drove everybody nuts.
No, I think that Nylander's dead. I agree. Say they sign him to a big deal. Going into next season, is he going to start the season off on a 17-game point streak? No. So, in terms of he's going to set precedents this season that he probably won't be able to live up to in future seasons. But, when you are a player and your deal is coming up and what else is he supposed? Of course he's gonna play his bag off. But honestly, he's been getting better every single year. Trust me, I hated this guy. I used to come on this podcast and spend the whole 30 minutes railing this guy. I couldn't stand him. And now it's just I have no problem talking about his contract or what number he's gonna get because he's playing the best player in the league. I almost throw my hands up. People are like, well, what's the number gonna be now? And it's whatever this guy wants it to be, if he keeps playing like this, then do I want to see him walk if he's playing like this? No.
My thing with Nylander is, yes, he's off to an incredible start, and he's
just railing Nylander.
That's what I was literally going to say. I didn't want to interrupt there, but I was going to be like, you mean railing on Nylander as opposed to railing William Nylander?
I'm just one of those sports memes now.
Yeah, you are one of those. You said that, and I was like, ooh, yeah. I don't know if he's going to want to keep
Bayless now.
I don't know if he's going to want to keep that in there. Anyways, my thing with Nylander is, Yes, he's having a career year thus far. He's had a hell of a start to the season, 100%. And in future years, is he going to start the year?
Right when it came out of my mouth, I knew it.
Well, I hope you were.
I started like instantly sweating when I said that.
The camera was on you. The camera was doing an ISO on you when you said that, but like my face when you said that, I was kind of like, all right.
I thought you were gonna cut me off and be like, all right, let's.
Well, I don't know.
Whatever.
I just
It is what it is.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
You're just gonna
whatever.
rail William Nylander. He's having a career start to the season. In future years, is he going to start the season with a 17-game point streak and be out of his mind and have 27 points? Probably not, no. But I do think the guy has evolved. The thing that I keep coming back to with him is how much he's evolved physically and how much that's impacting his play and how he would shy away from contact. And this is why I don't want to turn this into a Nylander versus Marner thing. I really don't. But this is the difference I see between Nylander and Marner right now is Nylander is not shying away from contact and he can fight through a check. Like if a guy comes and tries to like angle him off into the boards or use his body against him, like Nylander can sort of finagle his way through and he's become a bigger body himself. Whereas I think Mitch Marner, when the checking gets really aggressive and the time and space goes away, Mitch Marner kind of disappears. And I think that is where he has sort of separated himself from Marner thus far this year.
Well, Nylander's like you want to know the biggest difference in this guy's game? He's driving the net.
Yes.
He dropped the Phil Kessel turnaround, which Marner does, which a lot of skill players do, which Nylander did for basically his whole career up until this year and maybe a little bit of last year. Like he's just coming down the wall, and instead of turning, he's trying to skate past the defenseman and take it hard to the net. And he's got good enough hands, and he's got enough skill that sometimes he can pull a nice move and score like he did on Fleury in an OT. Like, that's the biggest difference. Like, he's just going into the heart. Like, this is old guy talk 101, old guy hockey talk. Going into the dirty areas of the ice with the puck, without the puck. Like, he's taking pucks off guys in dirty areas. He's driving the puck to the net. Like that's the biggest difference in his game. It's just like now he's playing like a fucking man out there.
And it's made such a difference for Tavares too, because the way he's able to dominate play and every single time the puck ends up on his stick, his classic zone entry ability combined with driving the net, combined with his new sort of like bigger body, like tougher to push off the puck. Johnny's allowed to do what he excels at this point in his career, which is sort of go to the net and sort of float in and around the blue ice in front of the goalie. And as a result, like you saw in the Detroit game in Sweden with that line, that was their best line. I don't think, like, if you look at those two games in Sweden, they didn't play well in either one of those games.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Let's put the positive talk behind us and let's speak the facts here. Classic Toronto Maple Leaf outscore your problems until you get to the time of the year where you can't outscore your problems.
Yes.
Like they got completely outplayed for 40 minutes in both of those games.
Yes.
And they just had the skill to
come back and
score the goals they needed to score, which is really good, and which is why they're a good team and why they make the playoffs every year. But that's a classic Leaf example that you can't be doing that in the time of the year where they always lose. So
it wasn't that first 40 minutes of the Detroit game were mind numbing. It was
the second 40 minutes of the Minnesota game. They were awful.
Yeah, they were. Yeah,
they were good. I actually felt bad for Minnesota. They lost that game.
I know he scored in the Minnesota game, but I do not think Austin Matthews or him and Marner were very good in either game. Like they just kind of on the periphery.
I mean, the one thing I'll give them is they will always get the tougher matchup in terms of facing the other player's best pairing or best line. That's like the only thing you can say in their defense. But it's just Willie's looking so good that they're just not going to look as good. And they did. Yeah, you're right. They didn't play great. The whole team didn't play great. Like I thought the D were just like on their heels. I felt bad for them. They had to keep skating back into their own end and getting checked because their forwards would go in the zone and be out of the zone in 2 seconds.
Yeah. That's another thing too when you talk about this team like reverting back to its like factory default setting. And I'm seeing this with the top line a little bit now is one and done offensively again. Like no like Nylander, that line is able to sustain pressure because Nylander gets the puck on his stick and he doesn't really give it up. But most of the other lines, when you ever see the Leafs really dominate in the opposing team zone with a cycle? Almost never. Almost never.
They just didn't really have any O's. Like they weren't very good in either game. But at the end of the day, they came out with 4 points.
And if you're like, I'm kind of at a point right now with this defense core where I'm not going to get angry about it. It just is what it is. Like it's not a great defense core, which has led to the speculation of making deals and led to what is like, I think the second biggest story in Leafland right now, which is John Klingberg. John Klingberg comes out and says so they sit him during the Calgary game. Then he inexplicably is back for the Vancouver game. Then everyone is like, okay, they're gonna go to Sweden, and he's like, obviously he's gonna play in Sweden. He doesn't play in Sweden. He's kind of, when they get there, nobody's seen him. Nobody really knows like what's going on with John Klingberg. He comes out and has like a press conference where he says he has an injury that's been bugging him his whole career. And it recently flared up again, and he doesn't know when he's going to be back to play. And then Sheldon Keefe yesterday is sort of not outright confirming it, but is sort of alluding to the like inevitability, I guess, that John Klingberg is headed to LTIR. So
the Maple Leaf way.
Yeah, like this is very
convenient.
Like, everybody says Robidas Island, which it is Robidas Island, but this is very Matt Murray. Like this is very Matt Murray. It's very like, okay, we gave you a try. You're not great. We know there's enough here that we can probably get away with putting you on LTIR, and that's what we're going to do. My next question, though, is if he had a injury that has, quote, lasted his whole career, I would like to ask Brad why we gave him a $4.15 million contract on July 1st.
The 1-year deal, though. Like, I think the money's irrelevant at that point.
And
like,
maybe I also heard someone make the argument that like maybe in their mind it was low risk because they knew it was there. So if he didn't play well, it would have been easy to LTIR him and get that money back. But potentially, I don't know. It's just a bizarre story.
So Leafy.
Yeah, it is. It's just a bizarre
like there's something
story.
this always had. Like somehow this organization just convinces guys who have an injury history that the injury they're dealing with is like serious and they need to just get off their salary cap. like let's just call it what it is. Like I know Jake Muzzin actually like had a real serious injury and he's probably never going to play again, and that's awful. And I feel bad for all these guys. Like Matt Murray might never play in the NHL again. Like a lot of these guys have been on this, have never or will never play again. So like I'm not clowning on them at all, but it's just, if you want to come to an organization and realize that you have an injury that you need to end your career, like I don't know, it just always happens.
Do you think it's maybe the fact that the Leafs are a team that like isn't hard up for cash, and I know like
we'll pay for you to get better,
pretty much, and it's like you have like the best doctors here, and the best like
we're just
you're basically like you're going on LTIR and paying you $4.5 million. Like if you're another one of these NHL teams that is like not as cash, like if you're not as rich as the Leafs are, putting a guy on LTIR and paying a guy $4.1 million to not play for you is kind of a daunting situation. But when you're the Leafs, you will gladly take it, and like all they care about is what's on their cap. $4.1 million is just, that's nothing. They could stroke him a check for that whole thing tomorrow and off he goes.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why they're just able to convince guys here.
I mean, I like if he is really hurt, I feel bad for him, but I mean, they weren't getting anything from him while he was playing, so it's like, all right, like see you later.
Well, he started the year. I didn't think he was god awful for the first like 3, 4, 5 games of the season, and then I guess he re-aggravated whatever this injury is, and his play took an absolute nosedive, and he proceeded to become the worst defenseman I've ever seen play in the National Hockey League. And then he's just kind of disappeared. And another guy who's disappeared is Ryan Reaves. And the Leafs are 4-0 with Ryan Reaves in the press box.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad for this guy. I really do. It's such a... Like, we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, so I don't want to belabor this point over and over, but it is like, it's such a weird thing because you and I were two guys who were full-blown, like, happy with the signing and thought it was a good idea, and they've got the toughest guy in the league now. This is what they need. And then, like, the minus 11 starts piling up, and Bobby McMahon comes up, and yeah, they are 4-0 since putting Ryan Reaves in the press box, and the fourth line now does get sustained offensive zone time. And is the fourth line like a complete game changer? No, but can Bobby McMahon skate with Noah Gregor, and can they generate some offensive time together? Yes. Yeah. So it's just, I'm kind of like, so now you look at the offseason signings, and it's like you're kind of like, it wasn't a great start. I think Domi is settling in. I think Domi's going to get better as the year goes on. That guy probably
needs to score a goal.
I know he desperately wants to score
honestly,
a
his
goal.
point per game is actually like not that bad for a third line center.
Yeah, he's got 9 assists.
Yeah, like 9 points in 17 games. Like, I think that's like pretty good point production. But I think he just needs a goal to kind of.
He's probably dying. No one probably wants to
like,
score
what do you want from your third? Like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, it's like you want your third line to be. Like, are we ever really going to be happy with anything on the third? Like, no. I feel like every time, like, it's just this conversation happens like every week or every couple weeks where it's just like the third line goes away and then we're like, oh, the third line. And then all of a sudden they'll score twice in 2 games. And then we'll be like, oh, the third, like, it's just the revolving door of this.
Yeah, like we were here.
Conversation.
Like we were here last week.
We're talking about Nick Robertson. Didn't
even notice him in Sweden. Didn't even notice.
That line
him.
Wasn't really relevant offensively. The whole team wasn't really relevant other than 88. Yeah. But, like, just I feel like we're just every week it's gonna be. Oh, we need a little more from him. And then the next week, it's going to be like, oh, wow, let's see what happens when you get production from your third line. It's just going to be a revolving door. Like,
how do you feel about Tyler Bertuzzi acclimating to the second line? You're somebody who's been very vocal about how you have not liked what you've seen from Tyler Bertuzzi in the first 17 games. But I thought I think he's another guy that's really benefiting from William Nylander.
I mean, yeah, he's getting better. Yeah, I just think like I think this guy made a huge mistake. I don't know what he had on the table over the offseason, but if he had a multi-year deal somewhere and he turned it down, that was a big mistake. Because I like just off like what I've seen from him and like off name value, you would think that he is a guy worth like $6.5 million, $5.5 million over a multi-year deal. So it's like, hey, he takes a 1-year deal to bet on himself with this team. And we've seen the way Mike Bunning came in and kind of made a career out of that, like Zach Hyman, even though Zach Hyman's actually like a fantastic 80-point, 90-point hockey player now. But like he's coming in bet on himself. And it's like, I think this guy's like almost doing himself a disservice of taking this like 1 year. Like he's really not that special of a player. Like I know all year we're going to be like, show up when it matters and whatever. But I just like.
So you're saying if
I thought he was more of like a special hockey player than what he is, to be honest.
So you're saying if you were Tyler Bertuzzi and you had a multi-year offer on the table to stay with the Boston Bruins, that's what you would have done.
Like if he doesn't get better, like if he just plays like this the whole season, like I think it like kind of screwed himself a little bit. doesn't look that. He looks like a third line hockey player.
Yeah, he looks.
That's going to be an awful contract for somebody.
Well, they did say that he was nursing an injury to start the season.
Like what? And the guy could go off over the next 20, and all of a sudden it's like, oh well, it was early, you had to get acclimated or whatever. But it so far, like are other people seeing something I'm not seeing?
No,
like
I think he's
he can be a good player, but like, is he the guy I thought he was going to be in terms of like even just like the skill factor or even the toughness? Like he's fallen short in every category to me.
I think he's getting better on that line. I think that you brought him in here and you said, Kiprio says all the time that he still thinks the end game is having him with Matthews and Marner. I don't see it. I think you leave Nyes there. But I think he's getting better. It was confirmed he did have an injury to start the season. I think he's starting to heal from that, and he's starting to look a little better, and he's fitting in nicely on the second line. If this guy can get his shit together and have a good rest of the way here, I think he'll be okay. He just needs to do what he did, score some big goals.
The way he went in against Justin Hall.
Yes, that's what you need.
Checked, took the puck. That's the guy I thought we were getting.
Yes, that's what you want to see.
He just hasn't been even close to that.
Yeah, that's what you want to see more of. Well, before we get out of here, I want to hit on this one more time because we kind of went away from it, but I want to get your opinion on it. Do you honest to God, do you see a scenario where some GM hands William Nylander Austin Matthews money and he walks to go play there? Because I do not.
No, the only team that's going to give him Austin Matthews money is the Leafs, and then they're going to get clowned on. Isn't that the whole point of isn't that what Toronto's all about? Of course, this guy is going to play out of his mind in his contract year, and we're going to have to completely even though he's playing amazing, we're going to have to overpay him.
Yeah, and then that brings it, and his comparable, this is the problem with what Kyle Dubas did in the contract negotiations. And you know what? Here's the thing. You and I have been going at Dubas pretty good in the last few weeks, and it's deserved. But no. This is the thing that fucking Brendan Shanahan has also facilitated, who's still here. William Nylander and his agent are going in to this negotiation with Brad Treliving. Everyone's like, oh, the price is going up, the price is going up, the price is going up. No, it's not. It is going up, but I'm sure, it was reported the Leafs wanted him under 10 and he wanted over 10. So that's pick a window in your mind.
He isn't over. He's he's not under 10.
Yes. So
we're not talking about under 10. Anyone talking about under 10 needs to go have a shower. It's not under 10. That's hilarious at this point.
So
you're okay, you go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, pick a window between just under 9 and just above 10. Okay, that's probably where they're at in this negotiation,
and that's not happening.
No, and I think what Nylander and Louis Gross are probably doing is, and this speaks to the culture that was set up by Kyle Dubas and Brendan Shanahan, is they're pointing at Mitch Marner's contract and they're going, that's what we want now. We want just under 11 or at 11.
I think he's going to ask for over 11 easy.
And
if he keeps playing the way he's playing right now, that's money in the bank.
And so, but you look around and O-Dog at the start of Overdrive tonight had an existential crisis over this. He was just like, why does a guy like Matthew Tkachuk just sign for whatever it's 9 something in Florida? And that's just it. It's just Matthew Tkachuk has 2 100-point seasons back to back. He signs for 9.5 or whatever his cap hit is, and that's just it. There's nothing here. But here it's the Nylander price, it's going up. It's getting more expensive. It's getting more expensive. It's it is exhausting.
The market does that. It's not just the players. Us talking about it's going up. That's helping him. Don't we understand this? Every podcast, every radio show that is talking about the numbers going, we're raising the number by talking about it.
That and the internal sort of You signed John Tavares to an $11 million contract, and you flicked over the first domino, and they've all been falling since. And now it's all, looking back, you probably should have got something done with Nylander in the offseason. You didn't. Now he's playing this way, and
this was the risk you took.
This was the risk you took, and now he's playing this way, and now he's like anytime if I'm driving in my car and I'm listening to whoever, either TSN 1050 or Sportsnet 590, and they have somebody on and they start talking about William Nylander's league comparables, I just change it because that's just such an irrelevant conversation. They care. Louis Gross and William Nylander care about one comparable, and he wears number 16 on the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's it. Full stop. And that's what they'll point to at the end of this year if he continues having a year like this, and they'll say, we want what that guy wants because we think we're better than him.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they should, because and if he keeps playing like this, what are the Leafs going to come back and say?
But do you think I think
they screwed themselves?
I think the fan base, I think people make a good point sometimes when they start ranting and raving about why is this like this? Why can't we all sort of band together? Are we trying to win a championship here, or are we trying to get paid? And I think the reality of this team, because it's kind of the culture that Brendan Shanahan allowed to fester, is these guys want to get paid. I think that's just the reality of this group.
They gave into it.
Yes.
They gave that
ship has sailed.
John Tavares for way too much money. And at the time, I know we loved it. We're not going to talk about it again. But that was it. And then, sorry, I know everyone loves him, but Austin Matthews is completely overpaid. I'm sorry. He is. He is just, of course we get that. And then he's just that personality that kind of sets the bar for everything.
And he's sort of like a new age type guy. He's very NBA in the way he approaches this stuff. And he's kind of brings a different, he's sort of shed the good old, I'm a hockey player and I do what's best for my team. And
signed for 9.5 because the whole Florida deal, tax, whatever.
State tax.
And no one's talking about it. He's having a great time down there. They just went on a run. He got out of Calgary. He didn't like that place. I'm going down to Florida. I'll sign for 9.5. Played Florida, chill out for a couple seasons.
Yeah.
Here we're all just raising William Nylander's price by talking about it 24/7.
Yeah. It's true.
I don't know, man. But if you really look at it, if they were going into this season not knowing how Nylander was going to play, it's okay, we're not going to sign him. He's got to go out and prove what he's worth or whatever. But at the end of the day, also another thought is if they go out and just lose again in the first round, then
yeah, it's cool.
I know this guy's a great player, but maybe we just prove that we can't win with this team.
Yes.
I don't know. Yes. There's also something in the back. Obviously, letting him walk for nothing is a disaster, and everyone's going to cry about it.
I don't think he's walking for nothing, because I don't think another general manager is going to come and hand this guy $12-13 million. I don't.
No.
I don't.
Dude, look at Columbus right now.
Yes.
They're the worst team in the league. They're two highest paid players. One's making over 9, one's making 8 something.
And they scratched.
They're benched.
Laine was a healthy the other night.
Look at the Golden Knights. I know Eichel makes 10, but the Chicklets talks about this all the time. It's last year was the first cup winner with a guy in double digits. I think smart general managers know that it doesn't work.
No,
it doesn't.
And that's where, and we just mentioned how that sort of culture around this team, that ship has sailed. So it's now on them to not give in to the market pressure, the pressure of the fans, the pressure of the players, and just make the right decision for the future of the organization. Because I think what you just said is a great point that no one is talking about. Yes, the guy is having an incredible start to the season. He looks amazing. You're literally calling him the best player in the game.
In the NHL right now.
Best player in the game right now. But guess what? If we are sitting here in May and they just got eliminated in the first round again, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? You need to go back to the drawing board and you need to assess, you need to take the opportunities that are coming your way with the cap going up and all this extra money you're going to have to spend to really look and assess and go, yes, you don't want Nylander to walk for nothing. I don't believe he's going to. The only way he will is if they get eliminated at the end of the season, the Leafs are pissed, and they lowball him and say, okay, well, we got eliminated, so now we want to pay you 8, just under 9.
I think that's
which won't happen. Like, I don't think William Nylander is going anywhere. I think he wants to stay here, but I do think you need to take all these things into consideration before you start talking about giving this guy Mitch Marner's contract. And then guess what? This time next year, we're going to be having this exact conversation about Mitch Marner because he'll have 1 year left on his deal.
Well, it just kind of sucks how Nylander's like up before Tavares.
Yeah.
Because like you basically can just pay Nylander what Tavares is making right now. And then Tavares is off the books, and it's like, all right, Johnny, that guy's no. I know you're a point of game player, but it's either you take this or see you later, and I don't think anyone's gonna cry about it.
Saravelli this morning on the radio kind of threw that out there as like, well, what if in the offseason they look at finding a way either out of his contract or finding him, as Saravelli put it, a soft landing spot for the final year of his deal.
Yeah, because I think you don't want to who's gonna want to see Nylander walk after playing like this? Like, I don't want to see him walk, but also if they don't win, then we're all just spinning our wheels. But like watching him walk to another team after playing this great, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna be like people are gonna be questioning it. It's just you wish that 91's money was just coming off the same time as his, because it's like, John, here's the offer. If you don't want to take it, see you later. That, no one's gonna care at all. I know. I like John, nice guy, but that's just that's how that's gonna go.
All right, buddy.
Plus, pull up the cap again. Do they have a defenseman next year?
They have Morgan Riley and they have Jake McCabe.
That's it. Do they have anybody playing D for them next year?
No, I don't. That's a good. That's a good point.
Oh my God, who's at RFA?
Who's Simone Benoit? Even Willie Legason is a UFA.
Yeah, everyone else they don't have one guy playing D for them next year. Oh my God.
All right, buddy. Got 2 games coming up this week and a back-to-back, a 2 p.m.er in Chicago against the Blackhawks, and then the very next night they go to PPG Paints Arena to visit Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's a must-watch.
Yeah. Yep. I can never hate
Sid.
I can't hate the Penguins. No, it's the only problem. It's I love the Penguins. You got to respect the Penguins.
Yeah, Sid's a goat. I love Sid. All right, buddy. Well, we're toying around with the idea of doing another episode later on in this week, a special episode. We might do that. We might not. Regardless, we will be back next week in our usual time slot. We've been pumping out 1 a week thus far. We want to get that to 2 at some point, which is what we will do. If you don't want to miss any of the content that we're pumping out, hit that like and subscribe button below. Make sure you follow us on our socials. The links to our TikTok and Instagram are also in the description below.
Spread the word. Tell your friends.
We really appreciate it. Leave a comment. Leave a review. Every little bit helps. We'll see you guys next time.